Alabama goes into the bluegrass state and then drinks some celebratory bourbon. Or maybe that was just me.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me. Jimmy Stein, that's him. This episode is brought to you by Gametime, and thank you for making us your first listen. Appreciate you guys so much. Sorry that we didn't have an immediate post-game podcast yesterday. I went to the Kentucky game. I got to see Jalen Milroe's dad. I'll prove it here in just a minute. But, Jimmy, Alabama gets a nice win going to the Bluegrass State, 49-21 over Kentucky. Your initial reactions?
Another great performance by Jalen Milroe and the offense in particular. I especially want to bring up the fact that, I think Milroe's injury or his bruise was more significant than even TV was letting on. I think Luke was at the game, saw a lot what was happening on the sideline there. And it was the fact that Jalen was able to set school records sort of playing on one leg. I mean, we did some runs, QB runs after he injured his thigh. But he lacked some burst, I think, and speed after that hit. He just wasn't himself, yet still set school records. More shout out to the offensive line, did not give up a single sack. So many of the things that were plaguing Alabama in September and early October are just gone for now. Set snaps, the offensive line giving up sacks, Jalen Milroe not being decisive. I said in the lead up, let's see Jalen complete short throws, intermediate throws, and deep throws. He did all of those things while still contributing with his legs against a good Kentucky. Kentucky was 6-3 going into that game, a pretty good team. Alabama's road woes solved again. They played really solid, particularly in the first quarter and the fourth quarter, played a lot of depth. Defense was fine. I don't think it was a defensive performance I would rank up there with the best of the year, but it was fine. It was fine, especially considering they were down a few guys. So Alabama, once again, showing that among the 9 teams contending to win the national championship in 2023, they're probably the most improved team, and no one in that 9, including Georgia, wants to play Alabama. That's not to say that Georgia won't beat or can't beat Alabama, but no one will want to play the Alabama team that's playing right now, Luke.
Yeah, I mean, it was really fun. It was also great to see so many Alabama fans in the stands. I don't know if TV did it justice. I don't know if you could tell it. I'd be able to rewatch it. But, man, there were a lot of Alabama fans there, and it was very cool. And the Kentucky crowd was out of it early. I mean, Alabama scores on that opening drive. It was a thing of beauty. The touchdown pass to Nitpicking was awesome. He looked off the safety because it looked like, again, I'm going based on memory and the quick highlight. But he did. I think Jace McClellan went over to the left on a wheel route, and the safety sort of went with him, and that opened up Nitpicking, and it was a gorgeous pass. I mean, look, I'm really just as surprised as everybody else at how fast Milroe is getting better. I have no problem saying, I mean, I had my doubts. If you listen to this podcast, I had my doubts at the beginning of the season. But all he's done is gotten better and better and better, and it's a lot of fun to watch. And the other thing that is cool about him, he's a joy. He's a joyous person. He's got a billion-dollar smile. He's got an incredible personality. He's just been a lot of fun, and he's enjoying playing the game, and it really shows out there. And I'm very, very excited for him. I'm going to go ahead and put the picture up because, I mean, just in case people don't believe me. But here is Luke Robinson, yours truly, with Jalen
Quentin Milroe. Quentin.
And he's got I love this shirt of Jalen Milroe on his shirt. I want that shirt. And I got to give one more shout out, too. And we're going to keep talking.
Hey, where was that? Was that picture at Kroger Stadium?
No. That picture was at Drake's Sports Bar after the game, like, in fact, during the Georgia game. So, and then this picture right here, Jimmy, I don't know how well you can see it, but the two, my buddy and I went to the alumni tent, and this lady right here, maybe you can't see my cursor. So the lady under my right arm, her name is Liz, and she comes up to me and says, "Man, I love your podcast." She goes, "I want you to tell Jimmy where I sit so he can come see me sometime. I've already forgotten that, Liz. I'm sorry. And then this other gentleman over here to my right who was wearing a hat that I think the skipper wore in Gilligan's Island, and I loved it. I wanted it. He is like the president of Crimsonati. There's a thing called he's in Cincinnati. It's Alabama fan club or something, alumni club, and it's like one of the best tailgates that you can go to in Tuscaloosa and all that. Anyway, just a couple of really cool people. So nice to meet them. Appreciated their coming up, and then also had one other gentleman come up to me at the game and say, "Hey, love listening to y'all." So, man, we really do appreciate that. I mean, I swear to God, we do. So, thank you so much for saying that. That you brought up a point just a second ago about the defense missing some folks like Deontay Lawson. That's very true. Who else was out?
Jalen Key was out.
Jalen Key.
Yep.
But let me tell you something that I think we need to even give Milroe more credit for. No Jermaine Burton. And Jermaine Burton has been a guy that he's depended on, and Jermaine Burton's gotten a lot better. My understanding is he was sick. I didn't know he was going to be out until like right at kick, and people were texting me. By the way, Kentucky Stadium, I mean, you're sponsored by Kroger. Get more concessions. Get
groceries.
Get groceries.
Groceries. You're saying you lack groceries at Kroger Stadium.
It's the only time in written history that the men's bathroom line was longer than the women's bathroom line, and I don't know why that was. But anyway, I guess more men had to go to the bathroom. That actually makes sense now. But there was no service at all. The service was just atrocious, and it's only 60,000 people. I mean, look, I get it if it's 100,000, but it's only 60,000 people. So, there were some things that could have been better, but I do love the field. Like Kentucky this time of year is gorgeous. So that was really cool, and the fans were very nice. The ones that we met seemed very nice. But no Jermaine Burton, and so that was something that he didn't know he wasn't going to happen. Oh, what I was saying was Jermaine Burton was sick, right?
Jermaine was sick, and no one knew, because he was sick. No one knew until Saturday morning. We found out about in 45 minutes before kick. And as a matter of fact, Burton was so sick, Luke, he did not even make the trip. He wasn't even with the team. So I'm sure he's fine now. I mean, it sounds like a flu type situation, or even COVID, if they even report that anymore. But he just wasn't able to make the trip. So no long-term thing there. And I think Lawson and Key both have injuries that will you maybe you hold them out against Chattanooga, right? That's the beauty of scheduling and how smart they get criticized, but how smart Alabama is to schedule a game like this second to last, because you don't need more of an quote open week, off week, rest the injured players week than you do this time of the year when you're about to play your most important game. So maybe Lawson and Key are out. Maybe Jalen Milroe sits. I'm telling you, he was limping around quite a bit in that second half.
He was, but and shout out to Ty Simpson. We won't spend a whole segment talking about Ty Simpson because I'm not creating a controversy. And I've seen some people on message boards post, Ty Simpson is still the best quarterback on our roster. No, he's not. And it's okay. It's okay that he's not. He may eventually be better than Jalen Milroe. Maybe. But Jalen Milroe is the second best quarterback in this conference right now, behind only the guy who should win the Heisman Trophy and Jaden Daniels. That's my take on that.
Yeah, I'll say about Ty, I mean, it was we really only saw one series of him with the first team offense, running the offense. I thought he looked great. I thought he looked great. And I think, this isn't meant to be controversial. To me, it's just watching a player and having an opinion on him. I think Ty Simpson is ready now. He wasn't ready. He wasn't ready this spring. He wasn't ready this summer. He wasn't ready when the fall started. But the kid that I saw Saturday looked ready to me to be a starting quarterback in this league. Now, does that mean it would be at Alabama? I don't know. I'm just saying he looked ready to me. He had never looked ready before. He looks ready now. And that's what shows getting these QB2 reps. He's been getting the QB2 reps since South Florida. I mean, he became the second-team quarterback Monday after South Florida when Jalen became number one. And since then, it's been Jalen 1 and Ty 2 and Lonergan 3. And that'll be a fun thing about Chattanooga week. We probably see Dylan Lonergan on Saturday. I think Ty is now ready to be a starting quarterback in the SEC. And guess what? He's a redshirt freshman. He's right on time. For all the people that What's wrong? He's not a 5. Start the 5s. No, he's ready to be a starter by the end of his redshirt freshman season. Sounds to me like his development is right on time, not slow.
Speaking of things that aren't slow, that's Gametime. Look, go check out the Gametime app. I know in the past you've had problems with tickets. I had a buddy, actually a buddy of a buddy that went to the game with me this weekend. He didn't use Gametime. I didn't know it. I wasn't able to catch him in time. And he had a real problem eventually getting his tickets to the Kentucky game. He didn't get into the game until later than everybody else. I kept telling him he should have used Gametime. He was like, I will next time, I promise you. Because you shouldn't have to worry about when you're buying tickets to your next event. You just shouldn't have to worry about that. Gametime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all sports, music, comedy, theater events near you. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the best price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Love Gametime is last-minute tickets, flash deals, zone deals. They got everything you want. Lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, all that stuff. See the view from your seat when you buy so you can know exactly what to expect when you arrive. All in prices so you're total up front so you know you're getting a great deal without any hidden fees. Buy tickets in seconds with 2 taps. Go download the Gametime app. Create an account and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets. Lowest price guaranteed. All right. So, Jimmy, I still want to talk about some positives, of course,
Sure.
and we'll get to that. But we are an Alabama podcast. We are Alabama fans. Alabama fans love to nitpick. We are going to nitpick after a 49-21 win because then this is a beautiful thing. There's still stuff to work on. Milroe was sublime. He was awesome. He had one tiny mistake where he throws against his body across the field at a time we probably just should have thrown the ball away, or he could have taken off. Maybe that was a thigh thing. That could have been. But he throws across the field, and he has it picked off. But here's what's beautiful. A couple of plays later, Terrion Arnold bails him out, which is what good teams do. When somebody makes a mistake, somebody else makes up for it. Now, here's the one thing, and I know a lot of people are going to talk about this, and frankly, they should. Saban didn't make excuses for it, but he kind of made excuses for it. Kool-Aid's muffed punt. I know somebody, again, I hadn't seen the replay yet. When I was watching it live and the punt was kind of close to me, or the reception of the punt was close to me, I thought, hey, man, you might want to get away from this one. This one's kind of funky. And he just went up, he lost focus, or somebody ran into him or something, and he muffed it. And the killer is that was 21-0. We get the ball back then, and Kentucky mails it in. I'm talking about everybody goes home. What we did was give them just a tiny bit of hope, and I think they eventually scored on that. They did eventually score on that drive. So
They went on a 14-7 run.
They did.
I mean, we got outscored. We got outscored 14-7 for in the middle part of the game there. That was kick-started by Kool-Aid's drop punt.
Mm-hmm. And again, so while we win 49-21, and that's awesome, that's fantastic. We're all thrilled to death. We love it. Going on the road in the SEC and winning like that is a dominating performance against a good team, against any team. But this is a problem that's sort of been there. Like the punt return thing is a problem, whether it's a muff punt, whether it's not fielding a punt that needs to be fielded, whether it's fielding a punt you shouldn't field, all these things. We need to work on that, because when we play a good team like a Georgia, which we are officially going to play now as the SEC West champs and they're the SEC East champs, we cannot make a mistake like that.
Yeah, man, I tell you, this is why I'm glad that my official lot in life is to be podcast guy and not head coach guy. See, I think it's more complicated than, the next best punt returner is probably going to do better because he won't muff them. Or first of all, we don't know that. We don't know that because the next punt returner would be Isaiah Bond if they go by the depth chart, which they normally do. We don't know how Bond would do. None of us know. We think he would do better in terms of fielding the punts cleanly. But, Kool-Aid was the second best punt returner in the whole country a year ago, which is a heck of a thing to say, and a big-time weapon. It's not that we think Bond can do it. We know Kool-Aid can do it. I mean, he's done it before and done it at an extremely high level. Also, he plays such an important role on the team as maybe the best cornerback in college football that I don't know that benching him is a good idea, period. I mean, Kool-Aid's just a vital, vital, vital part of this team. And while the mistakes have been bad, and I'm not glossing over that y'all get all concerned about nothing. That's not it. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying the situation is more complicated than, hey, next man up. If it was a punt returner that wasn't the best cornerback in college football, I think this is an easy decision. But the fact that Kool-Aid is a leader on the team, the best cornerback on the team, the best cornerback in college football, and was the second best punt returner in the country last year, I don't think it's so simple. But is it problematic? Is it a thing? I'm just glad they pay Nick Saban a lot of money to make these decisions, because it just shows how hard that job is in terms of, pressing the right buttons and playing the right strings and making the right decisions, because Saban's got a lot of decisions to make like this. He made one at quarterback earlier this year that paid off, and this is my guess. I think Kool-Aid's a punt returner to stay. I'm guessing what Nick is going to do. I'm not saying what Jimmy Stein would do, which is irrelevant and probably dumb. But a couple things I would do, again, irrelevant and dumb. I would consider using twin returners. I thought we might do that a couple weeks ago. We haven't. I think it's a good idea. Give someone else confidence back there. If for their fielding punts, gives the other team something to think about. You can do some fun stuff with twin returners. Another thing I do is stick Kool-Aid out there with just strict instructions. Strict. You aren't returning punts today. You're fair catching the punts today. That's all you're doing. I don't care if they line drive it 58 yards. Fair catch it with no one around you for 20. You're fair catching everything today, just as a way to build back confidence catching the ball. Because catching the ball is what really matters. The punt return is gravy. Catching the ball is vital. And maybe building confidence with them, saying, hey, you're just the designated punt catcher today against Chattanooga. But I don't know. I just know this. It's not simple. It's not, just bench Kool-Aid. You're really going to bench Kool-Aid? That's all I got to say about that, as Forrest Gump would say.
No, I hear what you're saying. If you were going to make a change, or at least give somebody some extra practice, Chattanooga week is the week to do it.
It's got to be this week.
You would think that they would have a lot of opportunities to catch punts, hopefully. The problem is, I think it's too late in the year to do it. I'm with you. I think that you got to, if you do it, if you do want to put somebody back there against Chattanooga, here's the problem. You want to put somebody new. What if that person's awesome against Chattanooga? What if he returns a punt for a touchdown? It's not crazy. What if he, averages 17 yards a return or whatever? Then you're like, now we can use him against Auburn. Catching punts in Jordan-Hare Stadium with what that crowd is going to be, with what's going to be on the line for us, is different than catching punts at 11 o'clock against Chattanooga in your home stadium. So I think Kool-Aid's got to be the one to do that at Auburn, because
that's a great point. I was already, already had an opinion, and if my opinion had been the other way, you just talked me into my own opinion. It's too late to make a change. You're right about the Auburn thing. That's a great point. I think it would be a mistake to change a punter 2 weeks before Auburn in that environment.
Yeah, and that would just be scary. All right, so here's what we're going to do, Jimmy. We're going to take a little break here, and then we're going to talk about going around the SEC, but specifically about Jimbo Fisher's firing and how it affects Alabama.
Oh.
Now, though, I want to tell you about Jace Medical. Boy, love Jace Medical.
Jace.
So happy that they are a sponsor of our programming now. Look, we spend a lot of time talking together, you and I. We get fired up together on wins and losses, who starts and who sits. I'm thankful for the connection that we have. And today I want our chat to be a little more personal. I just learned that you can get a 1-year supply on ED medications. You realize that what that means? Bring on extended travel, bring on next natural disaster supply chain issue. You are covered, my friend. You don't have to worry about whether or not you can refill your generics for Cialis, Viagra, Revatio prescription, none of that. This is all possible because of our friends at Jace Medical. Go online right now at jacemedical.com to receive your 12-month supply on your daily medication. Remember to use promo code LOCKEDON at checkout for a discount as well. A verified customer had this to say about Jace. I'm thankful for this service. Supply chain issues caused me to cut pills in half to have it. I ordered most of my daily meds with a year's supply. I also ordered the antibiotic kit. I feel secure now. Prices are lower than than pharmacies, and I highly recommend this for everyone. If you or someone you love would love some peace of mind by having a year's supply of any daily medication, go to jacemedical.com to see if it's offered to you. Remember to use promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off your purchase. The Jace case provides 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use from Jace Medical. You will love this thing. I'm telling you, go check them out. JaceMedical.com. That's JASE Medical.com. Use promo code LOCKEDON. So Jimbo Fisher is fired. It's his second coach in about 3 years that beats Mississippi State and then gets fired. And then gets a tremendous buyout.
Mississippi State.
Yeah, Gus
Mississippi State.
Yep. Gus Malzahn and Jimbo Fisher. And I think there are a few things to consider here. Number one, I think that Texas A&M is certainly going to give Dan Lanning a hard look, and that's a guy that I would be frankly okay with if he were Saban's successor at Oregon right now. But the timing could be very good for him. It's going to be a tremendous bidding war potentially. Mike Elko at Duke is another option. But regardless, I think what's going to happen now is you're going to see some Texas A&M kids decommit. And Alabama's got gone head-to-head with some A&M guys. They may not decommit. I saw you wince, and I get it, because in this day and age of NIL, maybe their NIL deals are too damn good. I mean, that could very well be. A&M's got a load of money.
I'd explain my wince. And the wince wasn't like, oh, my wince was like, I'm not sure. In the old days, for sure. In the old days, for sure. This meant Texas A&M was starting all over again. Blank slate. Everybody out. Blank slate. Blank page. Not anymore. Where kids, I hate saying it this way because it's inaccurate, but kids are signing with collectives, not the coach.
That's right.
And I hate saying that because that's not really accurate. It's an overstatement, but but there's some truth in there, right? So I'm not sure. They might. Andrew Bone had some interesting things to say about this on BOL this morning. Andrew Bone predicting a Cam Coleman flip, but not to Alabama.
Well, not to Alabama, and he said not necessarily to Auburn either. I mean, I think a lot of people were probably looking at Florida State, which again, Alabama's not going to be able to avoid Cam Coleman apparently because we play Florida State in 2 years on a home and home. So Cam Coleman's a problem. He's a thing, and he's going to be a good player. I wish Alabama would get in on him somehow, but apparently he doesn't have any interest. So be it. It happens. But I think he's a fantastic player. I mean, my hope is he ends up somewhere like Florida State, not the SEC, but it is what it is. There's also the potential for some Texas A&M players to transfer. Look, A&M beat us out for some guys under Jimbo Fisher. I mean, Walter Nolan, Overton comes to mind. Now, maybe they wouldn't have ended up at Alabama anyway, maybe. But I know at one time Alabama was considered the favorite for Walter Nolan. And there's some other guys that Alabama certainly went after that A&M ended up getting. Jimbo Fisher, pretty good recruiter. And now with NIL, definitely a good recruiter. But it just wasn't working out for him as a coach. And I think Texas A&M, if it must be done eventually, it must be done immediately. Texas A&M probably did the right thing. What it's going to be very interesting to see what happens here because the SEC is now an official meat grinder. And, I don't know what in the world's going to happen, but I'm going to keep an eye on everything involving A&M for right now because they do have another good recruiting class, and maybe some of those guys can be poached. But then you look around the rest of the SEC, of course, Georgia wins big over – it was a blowout weekend in the SEC. Georgia wins big over Ole Miss. It wasn't great necessarily. Georgia's winning is probably what's best for Alabama because we need them to be undefeated when we play them, certainly. But it wasn't great in the sense that Ole Miss was our best win and Georgia handled them so easily. It also wasn't great, in my opinion, that Tennessee got blown out by Missouri. That could have been a little better. And now, of course, Auburn is sort of getting their ducks in a row. Yes, I know they've played the bottom feeders in the SEC, but they're taking care of business. And what that means is that place is going to be a hornet's nest when we go in there. So we're going to have to be ready for that. That's another reason maybe we do let some people sit against Chattanooga. I do not think Nick Saban is going to sit Jalen Milroe. And frankly, I don't know that I want him to, because I want him to stay on this hot streak he's on. But, then LSU getting a big win over Florida did help us. And Jane Daniels, in my opinion, is the Heisman Trophy winner. At least he should be.
Yeah. I might be this loud about it. I don't care. I'm not a Jaden Daniels fan. I'm not an LSU fan, but I am a fan of college football, and I think things should be on the up and up, and college football should get it right. And if you have a Heisman Trophy vote and you don't vote for Jaden Daniels, what the heck is wrong with you? What is wrong with you is what I would say. To me, it's like he's the number one by metric miles. I know Bo Nix has had a good season. I know Michael Penix has had a good season. You could make a case for a couple other guys, I guess. But I know this. I'm a big fan of Alabama football, a big fan. I will take my chances against Bo Nix and Michael Penix. I don't ever want to see Jaden Daniels again. Never. I don't want to play against him. And that's that's why anyone that is voting for someone other than Jaden Daniels has an opinion of, I'm going to vote for a national championship contender. That's what I think this award is about, is putting your team in a position to win the national championship. Well, that's not Jaden Daniels' fault that LSU's defense is so bad. He to me last night emphatically proved he's the best player in the country. And I think his development from year 1 through year 5 is an amazing lesson for every fan of college football in terms of giving up on kids too early, expecting too much too early, but then having the patience pay off. And he's going to be a really good NFL player too.
All right, that's going to do it for today's podcast. We're going to come back tomorrow and talk a little bit more about this Kentucky game. I'm going to try and rewatch it between hither and yon, and we'll talk about it then. Again, thanks to Jalen Milroe's dad for taking a picture with me. Thank you to the Crimson Natty crowd. Appreciate all you guys, and we'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.